One of the greatest problems in scaling up companies is scaling up people. This is usually shown in the team dysfunctionalities. And it is like a cancer. It eats the company slowly, and before you know it, it's a stage 4 cancer. Number 1, it is hard to heal. Number 2, it's painful to heal. And it is also very costly to heal. Based on my experience, I have this problem. During the pandemic, I found out after a few years and a few $100,000s in damages how dysfunctional was my team. I see inattention of results, avoidance of accountability, avoidance of conflict. There is no or lack of commitment, and there was no trust. It was so damaging, even I have to hire a lawyer to solve the problem. It is the one mistake that I will never want to step again. For the next 10 minutes, I will share with you on how we can navigate this problem when we face such cancer, especially when it is a terrible one. Number 1, I'm going to talk about how you can use your strength to navigate this crisis. Number 2, you're going to learn how you can utilize the team meetings in your company to reduce those dysfunctionalities in the company. And number 3, how you can scale your leadership so that everybody is aligned and you can be the best version of yourself using your strength as a leader. Hi, my name is Maxim. I like to be called Coach Ping, and Ping stands for Prosper, Inspire, and Nurture Kindness. So let's begin our journey now. The first thing that you need to do to eliminate the dysfunction of your team in scaling up people is to subscribe this channel. No, I'm just kidding. The first thing that you need to do is to understand yourself by taking the Gallup, CliftonStrengths Assessment, and also the Kolbe Index. By taking this assessment in the link below, you understand how you operate as a person. You understand your talent and how to develop it into strength. Talent defined as the natural way of thinking, feeling, and behaving. If you know this and you know your team talent, you know how you operate and you know how can you arrange these talents in a way that it will eliminate and prevent the dysfunctionalities of team. Because you know what is your preference of communication. You know how your people or your team prefer to be treated. For me, I know that I'm a one-to-many communicator. I don't do one-on-one. So what do I do differently with my strength? I make sure that I have an integrator who have a relationship building attribute and strong at one-on-one. This talent is called the individualization. And as I was the kind of guy that during uncertainty like to innovate, do something new, so I make sure that in my team, I have a lot of people with high follow-through and fact-finding. I'm a bottom line guy. I don't go to the details. So when I have these teams around me, it completes me. It minimizes conflict. It addresses the elephant in the room. Of course, this doesn't come naturally unless you have a proper culture in place. And one of the culture that I implement since I learned about the methodology of scaling up and business made simple is to have a proper meeting rhythms. Be it a daily huddle, weekly meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly, annual. All these meetings are necessary to make sure that your team are aligned and on the same page. This is why it is important to have the understanding of yourself, your team, and to have the system in place to make sure that you have the structure and the path forward to eliminate and minimize the dysfunctionalities of team if there is any. So now I want to talk about the second part, the team meetings. The reason why we talk about this is because if we are not mindful of our meeting, it can turn disengaging, toxic, waste of time, full of dramas, and eventually dysfunctional of a team, which you want to avoid. In Indonesia, we have a saying called Astra. It stands for Asal Senggang Terus Rapat. It is also a name of leading company, by the way. They are very good. But in Indonesia, that means when we have time and then we meet. So it becomes a waste of time, right, to meet if we don't have clear agenda. This is why in scaling up and business made simple, they emphasize the importance of having a clearly structured and properly defined meeting. One that is aligned to the strategy, one that is addressing with the key performance leading indicator, so that we can make sure that we talk about what drives the business forward through the results, and finally having the important elements of the who, what, when. Especially the when, you need to define not only the date but eventually also the time. Without it, there is no accountability. And with meetings, we can address the conflict and address what is the elephant in the room. When we able to address that as a team in an engaging manner, according to the strength that everyone has, there is a minimal drama, and we can objectively set the conversation in a way that it will not become a blame game, which can become very toxic also. So this is the importance of having a continually consistent meeting rhythm throughout the periods. Whether it's a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annual, it's a rhythm for the company necessary, so that when we address this, when we talk about the issues and the direction that we go forward, there's attention to results, there is commitment, there is accountability, there is a conflict resolution, and trust is being built one meeting at a time, one conversation at a time, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many. So how do we scale this to another level? This comes to my third point: scaling up your leadership with strengths so that it can scale up the first two elements that I talked about just now. With strengths, we can scale our people. So I like to use the Kolbe A-to-A report and also the Gallup CliftonStrengths Team Grid to understand the preference of my team. How is it that me and particular person is different in terms of their mode of communication? For example, are they someone of influencing domain like me, or are they someone of relationship building? Then the type of conversation I will have to clarify with them is based on this understanding. For example, I know somebody in my team who has a very high fact finder. I'm a bottom line guy. I don't go to the details. So I always clarify when he starts telling a story. Hey, with all due respect, we don't need to tell a story here, but just give him the bottom line. So I communicate my preference to that person. With this, we establish clear boundaries, how we can communicate with each other, hence minimizing miscommunication. When we have able to minimize this miscommunication, there's a higher engagement. There is also a better trust among the team because we understand each other. And most importantly, I always ask how everyone feels at the beginning and at the end of the meeting. This are some of the ways that I use to leverage and scale the meeting, not only about strength, but also adding the feeling part. Because every human, they do one thing for sure, they feel. So this is the one thing that I add on differently to have that emotional engagement, personalizing, and yet I do it publicly, so it serves my preference of being a one-to-many guy. Now I'm going to conclude with this. The way to navigate dysfunctionalities of team is starting by understanding yourself. And then you take another level, start understanding your team. The first step that you can take is by taking the Kolbe and the Gallup Clifton Strength Assessment for yourself and then for your team. When you have that, you can generate the Kolbe A-to-A report and also the team grid to understand the whole team dynamic. So when you understand that, and you also understand what was the gap that happened in the reality, the dysfunctionality existency, you can start transforming by taking the different approach to communicate, to clarify things, installing this rhythm in place so that you will have a clear agenda and a very productive meeting that moves the companies forward. So if you want to find out more about the Gallup Clifton Strength and the Kolbe, there's a link below. So you can also take the assessment. Whether you're entrepreneurs or you are key leaders in a company and you find that these are the issues that you resonate with, please sign up for the assessment so that you can start this journey to transform not only yourself, but also your team and eventually your company. And I will leave you with this, my friend. Everybody needs a coach. Even someone like me. A coach also needs his coach to continually sharpen my mind and to develop my mastery towards my pursuit of knowledge and becoming a better and wiser person every day in every way. I still remember one of the most transformational point in my life was really getting into that coaching session with my Gallup strength coach. And from that on, I decided that I am going to embark on a journey of transforming my company, eliminating the dysfunctional team by becoming a strength coach. And if I can help others, I will do so as a coach. And this is why the three things I do in life is to prosper, inspire, and nurture kindness, which stands for PINK. So today, my friend, if you are also facing the same problem like many companies out there, whether you're entrepreneurs or key leaders, having people problem, you are seeing the dysfunctionalities of your team through inattention of results, avoidance of accountability, there's no trust, no commitment, and there's avoidance of conflict. This is the time that you need to consider. Start pursuing understanding your strength. This is the time for you to understand your team. To sign up for that webinar on the 30th of August and start seeing that transformation happening in your company. I'll see you there.